Welcome back to the Movie Day Podcast, the one and only podcast that reviews a different film each and every day. My name is Grant, and I'm your host for this podcast. With me, as always, to dive into the world of cinema, we have Sky.
Hello.
And Ryan.
We're back for another one.
Absolutely. My pick for this day, is a documentary called Three Identical Strangers. Directed by Tim Wardle. This is a movie about three young men in 1980 who were all adopted. Or I guess, no, in 1980 New York, three young men who are all adopted meet each other and find out they're triplets who are separated at birth. And then they try to find out why. And it gets really, really weird and really not where I thought it was going to go. But we're going to talk about that. So, Sky, would you recommend watching it?
Yes, I would.
Ryan?
Yes, it is a great story.
Yes, for me as well. So, anyone want to say anything else before we just jump right in?
Nah. I think
It's
let's just
on
jump
Hulu?
on it. And...
It's on Hulu.
Oh, that's right. It is on Hulu.
Yep, that's why I ask. I always forget with my recommendation. Don't know why.
I got you.
So, Three Identical Strangers. So the initial conflict of the movie, it starts with one of the brothers, and he's kind of just going to the school, and everyone knows him, but it's not like who they think it is. And the best friend of the other guy that everyone thinks it is like, whoa, like, you have a twin, like, we got to find him. So he finds the twin, and then the other guy is, after the story breaks out, the third brother is like, oh man. So they all find, it's like crazy, like super frenetic, and like I'd say the first like 20 minutes or so are like super well edited and paced. Like it is like very like fast paced and like entertaining to watch.
Yeah, after the first 20 minutes, I didn't know like where the movie was gonna go after that, because they kind of found each other. Like we were at the point where like, oh, now all the story's over. They found each other. We're done.
Yeah. But yeah, they cut right to the chase. The first 20 minutes, like you said, it's like they all met each other. They're all popular. Like this happened. And it's like, oh wow.
I like that.
And then you get into what the movie's about. Yeah. No,
you don't get none of the build up or anything. You get right into it, and that's what I like.
Yeah, you could take the first 20 minutes of this movie and turn it into some cheeseball Hollywood hour and a half starring the Hangover people. I don't know.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, where did you guys think? What were some of your guesses like after the first 20 minutes?
I just thought one of them murdered someone. I think I said that.
Yeah,
and oddly enough,
did.
One of them was accused of murder, but he didn't do it.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah, that was, dude. I thought you were gonna be right for a second there, Sky. Yeah. I was like, man, did he guess it? No way. After the first 20 minutes, I kind of thought that something was gonna happen to one of them, and just because you saw the two brothers interviewing, but you didn't see the third one, and I just kind of figured like, oh, the other one must have died somehow. But we find out later how he dies, and it was like, oh man, I didn't expect suicide to be the cause. I expected like a car accident, or I expected like something more natural causes, maybe like with an illness. I did not expect suicide.
Yeah. Let's just get right into, I guess, where it does go. So apparently this leading adoption clinic would purposely take twins and triplets from mothers that are mentally ill. I think they all were, right? In some capacity.
Yeah, well, they were not fit to be parents, but they would like purposefully separate them to do like scientific studies on them to see how like the nature versus nurture debate. That's like the big theme of the movie.
Yeah. They would take them and separate them, and they hand chose the families with all different parenting styles that already have another older adopted sibling. Just like really trying to like control and like see like
Yeah, there was like upper class, middle class, and lower class.
Yeah, there's like a big study apparently that they were like, well, yeah, there was a study, but it hasn't been released. And
Yeah, and that's crazy.
yeah, so yeah, this brings up a lot of interesting things like themes and
Mm-hmm.
ethics and moral questions and
Oh yeah.
not
I guess
something
we
I was
should
expecting.
I guess we should also say this like all three of them were in Port or not. They're all in Brooklyn. But
Yeah, they all lived within, I think they said, 100-mile radius.
yeah, which is interesting. If you're trying to like do the nature versus nurture debate. I mean, I get why they're trying to do, I guess, smaller
Yeah,
scale
like they
and
can't
then
just
grow
like,
it.
yeah, in the
But
60s they can't just go out to like some country and
yeah,
like say like France and just like take this kid.
no, yeah,
And
for
it's like,
sure. Um,
I think if
but
they
it
would
also
have,
lowers the validity of their study too. But,
yeah, if they would have
yeah.
been raised in different areas, like even of the country, I don't know if they would have found each other ever.
No, yeah. Well, they
Because
even
the
show
parents had no idea, right? Like all the parents didn't.
yeah,
no.
none of the parents knew not only that the children had any siblings, but they also didn't know of the parents' mental illness,
Yeah.
Yeah,
which is very troubling in
yeah.
both
Like
regards.
yeah, they're not sharing like the the medical
Medical
records.
records.
Yeah, with the families that would adopt this kid, like that's kind of crazy. I'm pretty sure that's like illegal. I feel like, but I mean, I don't know. I've never adopted a kid, but I feel like you would have the right to like all their stuff, so you know everything
Yeah,
about them the best
I
you
would.
can.
If I adopted someone, I'd want to know like parents' health, like what careers they've done, like how much school. Like I would want to know everything about the parents, so I'd know at least a little bit genetically
Yeah,
about what the kid's potential is, and like how to raise him. If like, for example, like one of the moms of like the sets of twins had like schizophrenia, like I would
yeah,
definitely want to know that. Like if my kid starts like hearing shit like potential schizophrenic, like I'd want to jump on that as quickly as I can.
yeah. That's
And
for
I
sure.
think what didn't they say like their mom was like manic depressive, or did they never like fully get into?
One
Because
of
she did
them,
drink a lot.
yeah, one of them said there was probably. He kept saying there's probably something, maybe a little bit more. He never fully said, but he definitely.
Mm-hmm.
The brother that was talking about it was like subtly hinting, I guess, that there was something. He doesn't know what, but there was something going on.
Yeah, because he was saying that, and then they were saying as well like she was keeping up with them as far as drinking, which like
Yeah.
obviously isn't the greatest thing.
No, not when it's a woman versus a man drinking. Although there are some
Yeah.
women that can really hold their alcohol.
But yeah, because they say the brother that did end up committing suicide like suffered like manic depression, and like that would have been a nice thing to know if like that's what the parent suffered. Like
Yeah. I guess I got a question for you two. So, do you guys, so the father of the one brother that killed himself, do you guys blame him
no,
at all in some way?
No,
not
I
in
mean,
this
like, I'm
case,
sure. I mean,
because he didn't know
know,
anything, and like they just threw him with that guy. Like it's two different people. Like he's like a
Do
military.
you think the
like,
other, I mean, I think like one of the other brothers said that they don't blame him for anything. But like, do you think
it's
like, I
just like
mean,
respect their parent, and like he had no idea of like the mental history of like not only him but like his parents, and like the kids like suffered like from separation anxiety because they would sleep together for the first 6 months of their life, and then they were just taken from each other.
yeah, and all they said about the father of the brother that killed himself is he was just a strict disciplinarian,
Yeah,
and that doesn't, I mean, that doesn't really lead to suicide. I mean, I don't want to like try to state it as a fact, but like it usually doesn't. It just means that you have strict parents, and like we kind of, like parents have to be strict in their own way. Like there has to be some discipline, otherwise your kid's
yeah,
gonna get out of control.
yeah. He definitely
And
didn't commit suicide because his dad was strict. Like he was living without his dad for a good while. Like I thought he made it into his 20s at least.
no, yeah,
I could be wrong.
he did, but
Because the thing that really set it off was like the brother like left, and like they even said too like they opened a business together and like killed him because like they never had like they didn't have those 18 years or however long it was it took to find them. Like they took to find each other. They didn't have that time to like be brothers and like argue and fight about things. And like he was always the guy that killed himself. He was always the one that like wanted him to be like close together and like to be a family.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all crumbling and breaking apart.
I mean, I think it's interesting just kind of how, like, I guess everyone's trying to, like, they want control in their lives, right? Like, these scientists and, like everyone wants to know, like, is it my genetics? Like, am I going to be this way because of this? Or is it, like, the environment? And, like, I guess that's, like, not to get in, like, problems with the movie. And, again, like, it doesn't, like, I guess, preach this in, like, a way that one wins over the other. But essentially it just says what, like, to me, I would assume is like common knowledge. Like it's mostly nurture. And then there's obviously some genetic components to it as well. And the movie tries to make it at the beginning. They're like, yeah, like look at how three they are. Like the genetics, like they all look the same. And it's like, well, they all were born in Brooklyn. They were all literally being interrogated by a scientist like once a week, apparently.
Yeah. And this was like one of the first, actually, I think it was like the first study of its kind and the last.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there was the twin girls too. There's other
like they were part of the same study.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, I don't know what the distance was for them though. They didn't get into specifics and where they were
still
located.
Said that there's probably sets of twins and stuff that never realized that they had a double.
Yeah, but yeah, that is like part of like the media and all the hype and like they want to like show how like they're similar and like and everyone's so.
No, I'm not saying. Yeah, the media, I get doing that. I'm just saying, like the actual like movie itself was also saying that. Like when they'd have the old woman give her testimony, and she's like, "Yeah, people got to look more into the genetics."
That's how it was in real life too, though. Like that, they have everyone else all caught up and happy. Like it's such a cool story, and they're so similar, like apart. But then they actually start looking into it, and we find out like the study that they choose the parents, and then it starts getting into more of the nurture, which I think the movie ultimately deduces.
I mean, yeah, it says it's both at the end. Mm. It says it's more nurture versus, nature. But I like more, the aspect I like about it the most, it just showed how much everyone is trying to, like, find a reason for, or, like, possibly even an excuse of, like, I'm this way because of this. Or, like, I became this because of this. Like, it's not my fault. Like, this is what happened. And I think that mindset is interesting because it seems like that's, like, everyone in this movie. Like even the brothers were trying to like reason with who they are, like why they become the way they did, and like so, and that's like it's like the human question, I guess, which like no one will ever know. But I found it interesting how everyone was like so obsessed with it. Which I mean, you probably would be if you were like a triplet. You'd probably be like, especially if you're long lost and you all look the same. You probably would be like,
yeah, for the first few weeks and possibly months, I definitely would be thinking about stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, it's a crazy thing to happen. Like, you live for, like, 18 years. And then, like, the movie mentions it several times for, like, you walk around a corner and you see yourself.
Yeah.
Like...
No, it would definitely be crazy. Like I said, I like that part of how it kind of showed how everyone was trying to, like, they want something to determine the way they are. They want, like, I don't know. It was interesting.
And, like, they kind of got into it a little bit, too, of, like... this like the cost of like affecting these lives and like these families over like the cause of like finding out all this, like the cause of this study. I kind of like that. Like, is it worth like
the ethics behind it? Yeah, well, that's the weird part. Usually, like, because there's been unethical studies that have been done, right? Like the Stanford prison experiment and like stuff like that. That you can't replicate, but we have the results, so we can kind of be like, oh, like it wasn't replicated, but like in one scenario, this is what happened. It's like interesting. Like in this, you really don't even get to see the results. They have it locked to like 2060 or something.
It's like 2066, I think they said.
Yeah,
but
which
the
is
really
like
messed up thing about them not releasing it is there could possibly still be like much more like sets of twins and triplets out there that don't know they're separated.
Yeah, which is and, where
like,
the movie...
the adoption parents don't know the records of, like, them or, like, their parents of their mental illnesses. Like, like very dangerous and like, yeah, very very unethical to say the least.
Yeah.
Yeah, this I was thoroughly entertained by this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
I was
definitely good.
entertained. I knew where it was going as soon as the like the science stuff kind of came in. I didn't like that shocked me and I was like, whoa. And then as soon as it got
At
into
first,
that, I was
yeah.
like, okay.
Yeah, then it started to like.
Yeah, it's kind of just like deeper down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm kind of glad they didn't treat it as more like a bombshell. Like every time they found out something new, it's like, yeah, like I think we're all expecting like more at this point.
Well, one of my, I guess, biggest complaints, like, I guess I personally can't stand when they recreate scenes, and
Yep.
this movie
Yeah.
does it a
Yeah.
lot. And that's the part where I was like,
Yeah, I hate
But-
recreations.
they recreated
Mhm.
a lot of scenes, mainly in like the first half, I would say. But
Yeah. First half, second half added some with like the experiments.
Yeah, like not really not in the first like 20 to 30 minutes. They didn't really repeat much, but then like after that they kind of did.
well, it wasn't just repeating. It'd be like the brother at the beginning would say, "This is what I did," and then you'd see him get in his like shitty car. He'd drive it. You'd see the back of his head. You'd see kids like giving him hugs and stuff. It's like
Oh,
recreating.
like the literal recreate. I didn't
Yeah.
mind that.
See,
much.
like I can't stand that when they do like. I want to see the real footage, and like otherwise,
Well,
like you can just tell me about it. Like I don't
There's
need to
kind of
see
a good
that.
reason that there isn't real footage.
No, yeah, I know. I'm just saying, like, I would have
Like-
preferred just to hear his story
So
on
this
it,
is-
and then maybe pictures, like real, like media. I guess I didn't need to see this, like him or like an actor in a car with like an actor friend of his driving on the road, and then an actor cop getting out and being like, drive slower, and then they
Yeah,
like
the cop scene was kind of unnecessary to me. But I think some of the scenes I really think added the recreation, like to the frantic like pace and like excitement of like what that character would be feeling in that moment. Like with the song blaring and him flying down the road, and like them in the phone booth cramming in. Like I thought some of those recreation scenes did really add a lot.
See,
But
for
what
me,
I
it just made it cartoony.
What I thought you were talking about is like when they would feel something and they would start playing like other parts that we already saw in the movie. Just
Well,
to, like,
that was the
kinda help
thing
you out.
too.
That's what
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about. Because that would be one of my issues. And then the other issue would be a lot of times when a character finishes saying something, like they'll just cut to a picture of the three brothers. Like that's like their go-to. Like
Yeah,
they do that too.
for sure.
Yeah,
I
those
mean,
are my really like only two complaints with me.
Yeah, I would
And the
agree
cop
with
scene
those
only
two.
took like 30 seconds. It's like, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, mine doesn't limit to just the cop scene. Like mine was just like all of those, like like the recreations, like the baby looking at like a square and like touching like a box and like
Yeah,
looking at
doing
like,
all the
paintings
testing.
and stuff.
Yeah.
And like
I didn't.
again,
care
if
for that.
just the scientist explaining that he did that would have been like just as effective for me. I didn't need to see like this weird recreation of like a baby, or like when all the parents go to like talk to like the organization that adopted them, and they all are in the rain. They walk in, all the people are there like drinking wine, like we got away with something. Like it's like so cinematic. It makes it like seem to me. Like, I wish it wasn't like that.
for it to be really like be a complaint for me, I would have to like think of something else in my head to be like, what else would they be showing right now? And like for a lot of the scenes like that, I really don't know what else they would be showing.
See, I would have been fine with just like personal like testimonies, pictures, news clippings, like any of that stuff. Like, because when you add that stuff, it makes it seem biased towards like the organization. If you're like recreating things that happened,
Well,
I don't know. It's not like 100% factual. I guess you're taking liberty with the, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The recreation, I guess.
I guess you could just show like the camera like panning like into the place with like nobody in there and it's just kind of empty.
Yeah, you could show the
panning
buildings of the
around.
places they're talking about. Like
That would be fine.
Yeah, I don't know.
So like it feels like
Stuff
you're
like
there,
that,
but
I
like
guess.
like then you use your imagination to envision what the guy is saying in his story.
Yeah, and pretty much every other documentary does that. Like it's just kind of like the empty space, like they narrate over it.
Mm-hmm.
Or I don't know.
Yeah, and that to
Like
me is more effective. Like that to me makes it less biased, and everything you see is real.
Yeah.
Like,
You're
and
just
that's
trying to
where like,
picture like what the people would actually look like when they were there,
yeah,
and not
like I
actually
guess to
see
me
like
if
a
I'm watching,
representation of it.
yeah, like if I'm watching a documentary, I don't want it to be like this big like. Again, this wasn't like a huge cinematic thing. It just had like weird cinematic stuff. Like to me, it like detracted to what I like in like documentaries, which are like more I just want like the facts, show me like the real footage, the best that you can,
so,
and
yeah,
like that's kind of all I want.
that was gonna be the next thing I was gonna go into. I guess right before we rate documentaries, how would you guys rate documentaries? Because there's a lot for me that I could get into, and I don't watch too many documentaries, but like it gets kind of tough for me. Like I don't know.
It's
I
definitely a tough one.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough one. I would say like it's. I mean, again, it's hard to judge, but I'd say how well they chronologically put it together, and if they jumped around too much on the timeline, or if they stayed consistent throughout. Like that's kind of how I would look at one. Because really, you can't fault a guy telling a story. Like it's just the documentary is just explaining a
Yeah,
previous
I
event.
mean it could be a really like uninteresting story though.
No, exactly right. That's what I was thinking. Like, what if like it was just boring? Like, even if it happened, like
Right?
you
Yeah.
Yeah,
may
because
not
I
like
Well,
it.
I
watched
mean, I thought that was pretty
'cause I
obvious.
watched
That
I
if it's
watched the
boring, I'm not gonna
documentary.
care.
I watched the documentary on Roger Ebert. I think it's like life itself, and like obviously like I'm like big into movies and like reviewing movies. Like it should be a documentary I really like, but I was kind of bored. I don't even think I finished it. But, like
Hmm.
I don't know. It's really tough for me for rating documentaries
I mean,
like
based off of like
this.
the boredom, like, nah, that's gonna you're gonna have that with a documentary because like it's there's nothing like they can do to make it crazier because it's just a story. Like it's they
Yeah,
have to.
which is why I kind of find it hard to like fault this movie for certain things it does. Like definitely the first 20 minutes and the way it's like edited and like paced like is not really something you see in a documentary very often.
No, not often.
It's true. You don't really
And
see it that often, but to me, like it doesn't, I guess, add anything. It kind of detracted, I guess, stuff from me. But again, that's just because like when I go into a documentary, I have like the mindset of like I'm getting into the mood for that type of movie, I guess. um, and it's just like again, like documentaries are really hard to, I would say, rate compared to everything else. Because like, how do you rate the acting? Like, it's all real people, right? Or at least it should be.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
like,
you can't judge it on acting really.
that's what I'm
can't.
saying. Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
it's a lot. It's definitely on like its own scale, I would say. It doesn't completely relate to like other films with like, character actors and stuff.
Yeah, like for me I guess the big things would have to be like if it's a story that's like interesting, and this one definitely was, and if it has something to say, which this movie has a lot to say, I think.
Yeah, if
Yeah,
it's
I
trying to
mean,
like prove a
the
point
whole nature
or
nurture
like,
thing.
mm-hmm.
And like another thing for me would have to be, but obviously like it's pretty hard to have like footage because I think they're like actually withholding like all of the actual like the footage of them like filming the kids as they would like do their study, and they would have like photos and like all this other stuff, but I don't know, it's kind of hard to fault the movie, at least for me, as far as that goes.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely would have problems getting the obviously because it's still locked away till 2066. But for me, like I said, I would have been, I guess, more interested to see just the, I guess, just the facts and the real pictures and stuff. Would have made the movie shorter too. But
Yeah, and it was only an hour and a half.
yeah, I don't know.
Like,
It felt a
yeah.
little bit longer for me personally. But then again, most documentaries do. It's not necessarily just
Yeah.
this one.
And especially with this one too, like with how quick like it started out. In the end, you really kind of do have to like settle down and like break everything down. But yeah, I did really like this documentary, and I think our next episode is going to be a documentary as well.
Ooh.
But yeah, is that all? Is that about all we have for 3 identical?
Yep. That's all I got.
Yeah. Same here.
All right, should we give it our ratings?
Let's
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm feeling 7 out of 10. Again,
Ooh.
it's hard to rate documentaries. It honestly does mainly come down to, I feel like, entertainment value for them, as unfair as that may be. But yeah, I would definitely recommend seeing it. It's definitely like worth a watch, just with like the story itself.
Yeah, it is
So.
a fantastic, like, phenomenal story.
It is.
Yeah, that's crazy.
What about you, Ryan?
I am at an 8. Yeah, it was entertaining. As documentaries go, doesn't really get boring at all. So check it out.
Yeah, I am also at an 8 out of 10. I don't even know if it would be closer to 7 or 9, but like, although I think it would definitely, it's tough because I can't really having the footage, but like, that really is something that like helps with the documentary. I don't know, just like the few issues I mentioned.
They should have waited till 2066.
Yeah. They make another.
That'd be hilarious.
That would be interesting for sure. But yeah, I believe our next episode is going to be on Sunday. We're taking the day off. Saturday, we got some stuff going on. But Sunday, we have our 8 p.m. live televised on National Geographic, commercial-free, of the award-winning documentary Free Solo.
Commercials. Hell yeah.
Not to be mistaken for Solo as Star. Covered that already.
Solo, a garbage story.
Free Solo.
Free Solo, National Geographic.
Yeah.
Check it out if you got it.
Get to watch a guy climbing a mountain. I'm pretty excited.
Climb a mountain with no equipment and no safety gear.
Oh, I'm be sweating. I hate heights.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, I always watch those like videos on YouTube of people doing the parkour on the buildings, like flips and shit. Like,
Dude, yeah. No thanks.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that. And also catch that podcast as well, because we're going to have it in the channel at the end of that podcast. So you're definitely going to want to tune for that. But otherwise, if you guys like this podcast, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, as well as leave a like and a comment. We would love to hear your thoughts, suggestions, and recommendations. To keep up with other updates and news regarding to this podcast, follow our Twitter and like our Facebook page listed in the description below. Anything you guys want to add?
No?
Nope.
Not today. All right. See you Sunday.